as the business disruptor. And this is Disrupting Your Business podcast. Super excited tonight to drop some new knowledge to share with our businesses out there in our world. It's always important to learn what you should be doing and to gather resources and tools. And so, Disrupting Your Business was created because so many businesses, 90 plus percent, are not earning at least seven figures and are not typically closing the wealth equity gap in America. And a lot of that is because we need to learn to do things differently. We need to grasp and be open to new possibilities, new tools, new resources, new networks, new people, new processes and procedures. And so tonight we're going to talk about something we all like to probably duck and dodge, and that's finances and primarily financials and the importance of that. So many of us talk about investment dollars and accelerator programs and other opportunities, and even the growing list of grants available to for profit entities. Financials are going to be extremely important. So join me in welcoming Virgil Minden with Minden Financial Solutions. And we're going to talk about financials tonight on the Disrupting Your Business podcast. Virgil, welcome. Super excited to have you here. Please tell everyone a little bit about yourself, where you're located, and what you
Okay.
do.
Well, thanks very much. I'm excited to be here. This is great. And already I know exactly one thing to say, and
Okay.
that is uh, everybody out there who has not heard me before is probably saying, does he have laryngitis or something? Why did Denise put Virgil on when he's sick? And I will say that I'm not sick. I do not have COVID or anything else. This is my normal voice.
It's all good.
It's due to a motorcycle accident when I was 14. And at that point in time, I guess that was the impetus that got me wanting to do more service type stuff. You know, when I survived an accident where I should have died,
Hmm.
you know, sideswiping a wood rail fence, crushing my throat, breaking my jaw. So that's the minor or the brief summary of that. And originally I wanted to be a minister until I started doing the job. And then I said, yeah, this is not for me. So at that point, I think I had a backup plan, which was business and accounting. And all of a sudden, that became my major focus. So for the past, I would say 30 years now, I've been working with primarily churches, but churches, nonprofits for, accounting and stuff. And I've just, the last few years, started to branch out on my own so I can expand those that I help because I really have to. I like to have a service orientation to what I'm doing, to where it's not just the numbers, to where I'm actually feel like I'm contributing to helping people. So that's kind of what I do. I mean, it's basically accounting and bookkeeping. I do taxes if my clients need it, but I don't tend to go beyond that. So my focus is more bookkeeping, accounting, full compliance there. And I would say fractional CFO services if people need that from the accounting perspective.
Well, first of all, thank you for being transparent. I will say that one of the reasons that I was drawn to Virgil, even before I knew, was that he's a believer. And many of you know I'm a pastor, a strong believer in God and Jesus, just putting that out there. And so I find it absolutely beautiful when God, puts me in the middle of some divine intervention. And so Virgil and I met, hit it off, found great synergy. He has already sent me a client, and so I'm super, super excited that he's part of my network, my circle. And so we're going to dive in. And here we are fastly approaching second quarter
Second quarter.
2023. And, financials need to be really, really important part of your strategy in your business. In my most recent 2-day virtual event, I talked about cash flow projections. And several of the businesses that participated in those 2 days, which was phenomenal, by the way, did not know what a cash flow projection was or just hadn't been using one. Well, it is kind of my Bible in business because I need to know where my money should be coming from, therefore where I need to spend my energy. And then I need to always be able to evolve that as life changes because things change, clients leave, clients come, and I need to be very clear, month to month to month, what I should be doing, where I should be focusing on, and where my money is coming from. It should not be a guessing game. It should not be a fly by the seat of my pants game. And so, Virgil, talk about what are financials? What are those words that we hear? P&Ls and balance sheets and cash flow projections and all of those tools that businesses should be using.
But Denise, we don't need that. I mean, we just need to worry about spending our money, right?
Right. We got to get it in to spend it out. Hello.
I just couldn't resist. I mean, financials, let's see, there's basically three major financial statements. One's a balance sheet, and that's a
Explain,
financial.
explain that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a snapshot of where your business is at. So these are things that do not change. So
Mhm.
that's what is your balance in your bank account? How much money do you owe? So if you owe money, so those things are not going to be over time. And income is over time. Income statement or P&L, profit and loss statement. That's over time you're looking at how much money did you make over X months, year to date or just this month. How much did you spend? And then you kind of look at the difference. The cash flow forecast, or the cash statement of cash flows. There we go.
Mhm.
That one is kind of, people think, oh, it's hard to do, but sometimes you can have a positive income statement, but spend more money and have negative cash flows. And so then all of a sudden you're left with, I don't have money in the bank. So this is kind of a leading indicator to say, uh, you're starting to get in trouble. And I
Mhm.
guess if you want a story,
Oh,
worked with
please share.
different, I've worked with different schools, uh, church schools in particular, and
Mm.
it seems like parents are supposed to pay tuition,
Mhm.
and if they don't collect it, you get a high receivable. And if you don't, get those receivables in, so you have this nice balance sheet, nice income statement, but you don't have any money coming in for those receivables, and that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, it happens about March or April, you run out of money.
Mhm.
Whereas seeing that receivable increasing without the cash coming in, so you're seeing negative cash flow maybe or something, or just not positive, that kind of gives you a leading warning that you need to do something about it before you get to that point. So yeah, cash is important for some reason. I just don't get it.
Some crazy reason we still need money to operate and to function. And so we want you to be financially healthy. That's what we're talking about today because it impacts everything. And in order to grow, in order to compete in today's marketplace, you have to be very, very clear about what your financial strategies look like. What are you going to do to make sure that you have the capital in to one, get through a rainy day. I always talk about, the rainy day fund. We talk about that a lot in nonprofits, but it is a doable term in the for-profit world as well. If nothing else, the last 3.5 years should have taught us that a rainy day fund is absolutely necessary. And just like we have a savings account, hopefully, and a rainy day fund for in our personal lives for those things that happen called life, we need to also be prepared for the things that happen in our business life. So, what are some strategies? And welcome, Shabella McFashion on LinkedIn, laughing with us at our jokes. Although we, sometimes you got to laugh to not cry when you're talking about money. And so
Well, it's a boring subject sometimes, so you got to have a little bit of fun with it.
you gotta
Otherwise, it's
have
just
some fun
boring.
with it, you know. So we have an accountant who has fun on the line today. Ha! Isn't that
Amazing.
awesome? So yeah, share some strategies that maybe you are talking through with your clients. Are there things that have changed? Are there new tools and new ways of looking at things?
Well, the things have been kind of going online for some time.
Mm-hmm.
QuickBooks Online is a key one. That's the platform I use. There's Zero. There's uh, several others that are out there that nonprofits can use. Well, before COVID, it was like, yes, we can do it, but it's kind of strange. It's starting to gain acceptance. Once COVID hit, all of a sudden that acceptance rate increased tremendously. So now it's right there. So there's really no reason why you can't do something like that to get some financial statements and things like that. I do know that it's kind of a progression as you go with an organization. If you're just starting out, I would say less than 50,000, a year. And I ran into some where it's like $4,000 last year, and that's all their income they had. Well, you can't afford much of anything, and
Mm-hmm.
all that is self-funded, and you're just spending the money. Well, maybe a check register or a spreadsheet might work for that because you're extremely small.
Right.
But once you start getting more than that, suddenly you need some help. You need something else. And that's where I suggest use TechSoup, get QuickBooks Online for a year, $75 at the moment. It really makes it affordable that you can actually do it. And then you can just learn how to do it yourself. Once you get maybe to $200,000, you probably should start considering, maybe a volunteer would help or having a professional help you a little bit as well. Then it starts becoming more management. Have to kind of put that in there. But, you
Well, I
know,
always say if you're at a point where you're making $4,000 a year, that's a hobby. And you may want to consider doing things differently. Maybe you don't need a business because it may be more of a headache for those $4,000 than it's worth.
well, they're wanting to grow, but, I would say that the first thing you need is to have pretty accurate financial statements
True.
so that you could share those to get money. Because if you're trying to get a loan with a bank, they're going to want some decent financial statements. I had one new client that came on board this year, and last year they were told, "Are you guys doing this internally?" No, not really. And basically, they were said, "Well, maybe you need to get a better accountant or a better person to do it." And so they actually just had a lot of nice things to say because they were really happy with what we're doing and how we're helping them out. But when your financials don't make sense to somebody in the banking world, or how can you get a grant? How can you go and turn these in to the IRS because they don't make sense?
Right.
Well, instead of spending a lot of money, having some accurate financial statements that are kept up to date on a monthly basis is extremely important. And then it helps you make your financial decisions as you go. Because I notice you're talking about forecasting and stuff, but
Mm.
I'll just say before you do some forecasting, I would argue you probably need to have a budget and start
Well,
looking at budgeting.
thank you. And I have a budget, and I do budget to actuals. So first of all, let me welcome a different Glow Apparel and Accessories to our podcast who's joined us, and good evening to you. Step one, you need a budget, right? You need to know that you want to achieve X, Y dollars. Let's just say $100,000, and you know you're going to have to expend 80,000. From an accountant and tax purpose, and they may say, "Can you spend 99,000?" I don't know. So you don't have to worry about paying taxes, but you need to know what you need to bring in and how much has to go out. And so there are many links out there where you can download some free templates, in order to create a budget. So it's not something you have to do from scratch. Starting out with old school Excel spreadsheet works. If that's what you need to do so that you can see it, you can visualize it, and you can understand. And it also tells you when things that you come up that you want to do. For instance, we are all bombarded by lead generators and marketing folks, and this is nothing against our lead generators and marketing folks. I use all of that, but you need to know what you can afford. So when they come to you and say it's $2,500 a month, and that sounds great, and they've really sold you on their goods and services, and it sounds absolutely fabulous, but every month you only have $750 left over, it's not going to work. So you're going to end up stressing yourself out trying to figure out, where it's going to come from, or in most cases, it comes from you, the owner, and then you have less money that you're contributing. In my household, we joke about it. My husband says, "Yeah, kind of need you to bring some money this month." And so, you have to make sure that it fits your budget. You won't know if you don't have a budget. So you need a budget at home, and you need a budget in your business, and then you need to do, at least quarterly your budget to actuals, right, Virgil? It tells you whether you stayed on budget.
And another comparison is, if you're operating more than 1 year, is this year versus last year, or
Mm,
this month versus last month. How are you doing? You know, forecasting, especially once you get larger, is great once you go to there because, you're looking at how to avoid surprises. If you're really small, you don't necessarily have surprises because, well, maybe you do, but you still need to plan for some of these low income months because you might just get it 2 or 3 times a year and then plan for the rest.
yeah.
So you kind of need to take a look at it. But I would say trends and comparisons are what you need to do best. And eventually, maybe do a dashboard where it's a
Mm,
visual representation of it, of your financials. So export the information or enter it in a spreadsheet or use an app. There's several good ones out there that you can do. Maybe eventually key KPIs. Just
KPIs, please explain.
key performance I can't talk. Key
Indicate.
performance indicators is what those are. So you're trying to measure yourself and your growth against similar businesses, similar expectations throughout your industry. But I would just go back to the quality reports, and
Mm,
this is where having like QuickBooks or something or Zero, to where you can easily keep it up to date. It helps decrease your cost, and can make better financial decisions if those are accurate. So if those are not accurate, decision making goes down. I'll just put it that way.
mhm. So
Back to
one of the things that I always share with some of my mastermind clients is staff your weaknesses, right? So many of us have been taught that we have to learn, overcome our weaknesses. There's, tons and tons of personality tests and other, assessments out there that, identify the things that are not our strong points. But in this world and at this time, you do not have to overcome everything that's not your strong suit, so that you can then focus on where your gifting is. Right? God gives us amazing gifts, and we need to work those gifts. So one of those things, if doing financials is making financial decisions, if creating budgets, budgeting, actuals and year to date, to compare where you were, cash flow projections, so that you are clear about where your money is supposed to be coming from and where you're supposed to be focused, is not your thing. It overwhelms you, make you cry, make you hide, which ultimately means you're not doing it. Staff staff your weaknesses, right? And the way to do that is to hire someone like Virgil. Virgil, again, another crowded space is that we are probably bombarded with folks who want to do our accounting. And so, what are some of the things that you should look for, things you need to avoid when making a decision on hiring an accountant to handle your financials, to be your financial partner in your business?
Well, one thing that I would tend to say is hire somebody who understands your industry.
Mm.
Just throw that out there. I don't think that the cost, for my when I look at the investment that clients make, I'm going to charge the same thing whether it's you know you're in my niche or not.
Okay.
So hiring a professional, maybe you have to pay a little bit more. Maybe I would say generally not, but they understand your industry. A year ago, I had a church come to me and we talked, and this is an organization that I felt really good about. And I just said, I hope we connect, and I was really disappointed when they decided to go a different direction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A year later, they contacted me again and realized that they needed somebody who understood where they're at, understood the industry, understood what was needed so that they could connect a lot better and get better advice. And so I would, that had a happy ending for me because we're still working. We just started working together again, so it's really exciting. I'm really happy to have them on board.
That's
But that's kind of like where an organization did not do that, and they regretted it within a year. And so nothing bad about the other CPA firm that they hired. It's just I've worked all my career with churches, nonprofits, so I understand it better. And that way you don't have to do more searching. But I would think that would probably be just the key point if
yeah.
I could pick one thing, because there's others out there who focus on churches and nonprofits as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, while I prefer people coming to me, obviously, uh, there's others out there that you could pick as well. So that, and I would say the second thing would be get somebody you can work with.
Yeah. You need to be
You
able
know,
to get along, right?
personality wise, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I put forth what I believe in with my mission, that I want a mission for my clients because I would say it makes me focus and care more about their organization. So a lot of people know numbers, they can do that, but having somebody that you can work with, personality wise, that you fit with is a key thing too, I think.
Wow. So yeah, you do. My accountant I've been with probably about 5, maybe 6 years now, has become my friend. You
Right.
know, we talk about things non-financial. She's a sounding board for me. I'm a sounding board for her, and I think that that's important because that is a really, really important relationship. It's got to be a trust factor there. And I understand when you're a larger um, business, you probably tend to gravitate to the larger companies, and that's fine. But I think it is important that you have a person that you're working with and that you feel confident that that person's going to be there. If it's a large firm and they have a revolving door of accountants, one, it may say something about them as a firm in terms of how they treat their people. And so if that's important to you, if treating people really great and supporting folks is important to you, then you want to choose a company where they do have accountants who've been there, 7, 8, 9, 10 years and have a history of retiring from that larger firm. Or you may choose, a smaller or mid-sized firm where you feel you can, they're not gonna switch on you mid-year or,
Well, it's not just that, too. If you have a little bit of a smaller firm, uh, I would argue that you get personalized attention a little
hmm
bit more.
you do.
I've heard of another CPA that they had a client end up going to a bigger, much larger firm, like one of the big fours, and they ended up coming back to this accountant because they felt like they cared more.
Yeah,
You know,
they're not a number.
whereas it's just you get to know your clients, you get to care about your clients, and it's
Right,
just
right,
an important part.
right, right. So pick your industry. Make sure there is a personality meld that you get along, that they're gonna be there for the long haul. They understand how you operate, and even, you know, communication strategies need to match. If everything you do is texting, if that is your world and that is how you function, you probably need an accountant that also text messages, because if they're not text messaging you, then they're missing your information or you're missing theirs. And so then they're sitting there saying, well, you're like, well, where's my P&L and balance? And they're, "Oh, I'm still waiting on your bank statement from last month." And it's like, why you didn't text me? Well, I don't ever text, but that's the way I receive information. So then there's so all of those things are really important. How do you communicate? But regardless, it's important that you have a partner or have a financial strategy in place that you are actually implementing on a daily basis, that you're not in an avoidance place where you don't want to face it, because it can come back to bite you in many ways. At the end of the day, you do have to file taxes as a business. You want to make sure that the information that's in comes in and goes out to the Internal Revenue Service and to your state if you file state taxes, is true, and that when it comes to a time that you have to prove that it's true, that you can do so, because you know that what went in was truth. And so those are just really, really important. And I encourage, even some of our really small businesses that are just starting out to have a plan, a financial plan in place. So, last question as we come to the end of our 30 minutes. I told you it will go really, really quickly. When do you need just a bookkeeper, and when do you need a CPA?
I would say it depends. Um, a lot of bookkeepers can do the work of CPAs. You
Hmm.
know, the only thing you need a CPA for is attest functions, and that's like audited reports. That's like certified financial statements of some sort. Bookkeepers can do the same quality of work or not without it. I've seen some bookkeepers who don't have a CPA degree have successful accounting firms and advisory firms and do quite well. I've seen people with the CPA designation who don't really know what they're doing for bookkeeping work. Uh, I hate to say that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, technically, you can use an EA for, taxes. You don't need a CPA. With a CPA, you do have more education. You have to pass an exam. You're
Mhm.
required to get more continuing education. So that's kind of some of the benefits of a CPA. A lot just kind of depends on the person that you're working with, whether it's accounting or bookkeeping. You could have a basic bookkeeper. I would try to get somebody who's more accounting instead of just task oriented, but who kind of understands the bigger picture and can see the bigger picture. So that's kind of where I would go. And I would call them more of an accountant rather than just a bookkeeper, even though they're doing bookkeeping work.
The bookkeeper work. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I remember back in the day in the beginning, and often when I do start a new business, I hire a bookkeeper, and sometimes they have grown with me, and it's been phenomenal, and have just gotten to a point where in some cases I'm looking at a CPA or larger, more robust accounting firm, but bookkeepers have been my friend. So, uh, you know, find you a really great bookkeeper. Look at where you are locally. Virgil, where are you based again?
Oh yeah, I guess I forgot to say that at the beginning, didn't I? I'm actually based in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, out in
Yeah,
Iowa. So,
but
look.
I would tell you that I've got clients. Uh, One is out in Idaho, one is out in Washington State, one is in Ohio, and I've got some here in Iowa as well. So nowadays, you don't need to have it just in the state.
You do not.
Although, if, you know,
Mine is in
you can,
Indiana, and I'm based in Georgia, so it does
yep,
not
there you go.
matter. But I put Virgil Minden, fs.com in the chat so that you all can connect with him and reach out to him. Super excited to just drop some knowledge on you guys today. And just a reminder, as we get into the end of second quarter, it's not too late. If you haven't figured it out, it's not too late to figure it out and to go back as needed. So this is a wrap. And I'm Denise B. Lawrence, the Business Disruptor. This is Disrupting Your Business. We will be back again next week on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to talk about businesses that are owned by veterans, military veterans, and the tools and resources that are available. Khadijah Bynum will be joining me to talk about some solutions for businesses that are owned by veterans. Thank you again for everyone coming on tonight and for your kind words. For those who joined us, take care, and we'll see you next time.